I like this idea that it was only 6.5 minutes. And I'm not sure if I'll stay right within that, but I'll try. So I'm Marcia Howe, founder of Sustainable Neighbors. We're making sustainable attainable. And I'm going to show you a very simple solution that you actually have the power for this solution. And I'm going to talk about this and ask you this a little bit later and let you know what you can do to solve an enormous problem that we have in this country. One day in 2011, I began to put the pieces together about what was really going on with processed food and our food system. And when I did that, I started to look at all these things. You can probably help me here. Obesity, diabetes, and I really appreciate what we just got to see, because autism is another one. Did you know that 1 in 88 children now are being diagnosed with that? This is just not acceptable. Autoimmune diseases of all kinds, because that's quite a spectrum right there. Depression, cancer, infertility. When I had my 3 children, there was no such thing as an infertility clinic because there wasn't a need for one, but we were on the path already to needing one. And then this one's big. The unnatural dependence on prescription drugs today. 50% of people are on at least one prescription drug. 70%, sorry, 70% one prescription drug. 50% is 2 or more prescription drugs. And I bet you in this room that each of us knows someone that maybe has been on 12 or more prescription drugs at one time. So I've been looking at the pieces of this puzzle for quite a while. And then in 2011, the pieces came together for me. In fact, I wear this puzzle piece for many reasons. The pieces came together, and I realized that this issue with our food system and with processed food was far more serious than I could have ever imagined. And at this point, my hair was on fire, and I just knew I had to do something. I couldn't just not do something. And I'm not really an activist. I've never really considered myself an activist. I'm passionate about things, yes, but to get up here in front of you and talk about this, that's an activist. I would have never been able to do that. And so I was trying to figure out how this could even be happening. So for the sake of my children, that's where it started. But then because of all children, including those autism children that I just told you about, one of my daughters works with those kids, I had to do something. So next to my computer is a little statement, and it says, I always wondered why somebody didn't do something about that. And then I realized that I was somebody. So I just realized I had to be a piece of the solution.
Amen.
And you also can be a piece of the solution. So for me, it wasn't about dwelling, from the very beginning, it was not about dwelling on the damage already done and going around and just trying to scare people or whatever. You know, it wasn't really about talking about how bad everything was. Even though I can give you quite a load of that if you'd like, but that's not really what my message is about. My message is that we each can step up and be the change in a very small way, just like Jill said. We each can make personal choices that actually is going to solve this problem. So you're all familiar with the World Wide Web, and there's another web, and it's called the Web of Life. This is the web I'm much more acquainted with, and it is far more critical to life than the World Wide Web. This Web of Life is actually literally under our feet, and it's the actual magic of the soil in its relationship with the sun, with the air and the water, that is the answer. It is the solution. It is what is needed to sustain all life on the planet. And so here's the key thing right here. Our industrial, chemical, agriculture practices, I know I'm not telling you anything new, are literally killing the life in the soil. And to the point that today our food is actually 60% less nutritious than it was 40 years ago. The reckless assault is degenerating our soils and is having a direct effect on our personal ecosystem. And just like our body has an ecosystem, the earth also has an ecosystem. And we're very much connected and related to that by our food. So we're all a part of the same ecosystem is what I'm trying to say. So GMOs, OMG. Genetically modified organisms. If you don't know what those are, that's okay. When I didn't, there was a time I didn't know, and a lot of us didn't know. This all started in the 90s, that we became a part of an experiment without our knowing, and we were eating GMOs, genetically modified organisms. It's mainly in processed food, okay, mainly, but it is actually going into a lot of other things right now, which we've done now. And our body doesn't recognize this. And there has not been very many studies in this country because GMOs are actually created here in this country. Other countries have pretty much said, I really don't want anything to do with GMOs, and they don't want them. But here, because of corporate agriculture, we don't have as much information. But there's plenty on the internet, so you can do your own homework. And seriously, I suggest you do that. Don't take my word for it. Go home and do your homework. Just Google. And because your quality of life may depend on it. And it is about personal responsibility, learning for yourself, and making your own decision about what is best for you. So my solution, so I'm a solutionary. We just need to get to the solution, which is real food. Real food. There may be the need to identify what real food is. In fact, I think that is really true today. So we have a class called Kitchen Table Wisdom. We're going to be doing it here at FTCC in the Continuing Ed, starting April 7th. There's only room for 12 in that class, but we will do this class again and again, because I feel so passionate about we need to visit and discuss our relationship with food and learn how we can have a new relationship with food and what that can look like for each one of us. This is where Jill and I sort of have this. It really is. It is a personal thing, but we need. I really feel like we need to group together and learn from each other and support one another in this transition. So my vision, our vision as Sustainable Neighbors is for a thriving local food economy. We don't have a local food economy. It is in its baby stages, and I'm working with farmers and having a fabulous time with them because they want to make this transition to bring the health back to the soil. I'm involved in many things, so many things, too many things, but it's wonderful because there is something happening. It's still at this ground level, this grassroots level, but it is happening to change our food system. So, and our mission is to educate, connect, nourish, and then healing can happen. So through workshops and events, we promote a wholeness approach to sustainable living, and we're growing community wellness from the garden plot to the plate. So what is the simple yet powerful solution that you possess to this huge problem? Well, let me answer that with just one more short story. A farmer told me that if all of us just spent 10% of our food budget on food bought directly from the farmer at the farmer's market, or if you're in a CSA, which is kind of like a food buying club that has farmers that supply to that, then if you did that, then he could afford to pay himself. That's what he said. This person actually paid other people to help him do his job. He could keep his business afloat, but he wasn't actually able to pay himself yet. So this is huge. We're talking about people, we're talking about the environment, we're talking about profit. All of these ways, they need to be touched to change what is going on. So that's how you can do that. But then there's one more thing. And by the way, that's what I call food security. If he's not growing for us the kind of food we want to eat, are we really secure in our food system here? No, because our food comes from over 3,000 miles away. Most of it in Harris Teeter, even when you're trying to get organic, especially if you're getting organic, it's coming from around the world or from California. Okay? So any crisis, food's out of the store in 3 days. It's all gone. You know, what are you going to do if you don't invest in your local farmer? So think about how much you spend on food each week, right now. What you spend on food each week. Take 10% of that. How much is that? Is it very much? It's hardly anything. 10% is hardly anything of our food budget. If you just start there, and I spend probably 90% of I buy from the farm almost 90% of what I eat. I have for years, before I even had this aha, I would go to the grocery store and could I didn't even need hardly anything anymore because I cook from scratch and I eat vegetables and I love meat, but you know, I would get better meat. The grocery store wasn't even serving me anymore. I don't miss it at all. There's very, very few things I get in the grocery store now. But that may sound radical to some people. So I'm not telling you you have to do that. I'm just saying add 10% of your local fruits and vegetables to your diet. It will help in many ways, which we will talk about here in just a sec, but it's part of my back and forth with you. Okay, so the alternative, there's one other alternative, powerful alternative. You could grow some of your own food. And not everybody's cut out for growing their own food. And I'm living in an apartment doing this work. I have my pots outside. I work on a public bridge and put in herbs and flowers. And then I go work on the farm. I'm a farmer now. I work on the farm. And I just help do this. And so I have lots of great food available to me because I'm in all these places doing this too. And I don't have to have my own garden even. So I'm showing people how you can do it no matter what, no matter where, however involved you want to get with it. But once you start getting involved with the soil, the dirt, I tell you, something really starts to happen. You get a connection, even if you don't have the time to I have people right now that said, I never did like dirt, and now she's telling me yesterday, she goes, I just can't wait to get my garden going, and she never thought she would ever do that. Never, ever. So there is just something about, and if everyone would just grow one thing, it keeps you in touch with the intention and the mission of what we're doing here. So, okay, so let's shift for some questions and feedback. We're doing gardening classes at Food Bank, so you can learn to garden there. We help put in that garden. I'm all about teaching the skills. Let's share the skills. I'm sure there's people in the room here that cook from scratch, that have skills. Those skills are getting lost.
I shop at Gillis Hills Farm because it's right up the street from my house, and they have a wonderful selection. But where is our local? I understand there's a downtown farmers market. Where and when is it?
Right. There are a number of things in town. Just to let you know, there are farmers in town that are a little bit they are on the larger scale, but they're still coming from a small farmer. We'd like to see all of them shift. When you go to Gillis Hill, just keep asking, do you spray with pesticides? Yeah. Just ask the question. If we just start asking the question, because I don't want to vilify any of our farmers, ever, because they are hardworking. They don't know half of the information that I know. They just don't know. They're just doing what they love to do. But ask the question, what kind of food do you want?
Where are the local?
And so locally, you can get through a food buying club that I can help you with, that I'm creating. You can get Farm to Table is not super local, but it is regional, and they bring in some really good food. There is several farms that are now kind of networking together as of this year, and they are supplying Merkinson Road Farmers Market, which will open April and May. That's on Merkinson Road. Isn't that wonderful? In the middle of a food desert. The students wanted to do something about that, and they're the ones that got a little bit of money to pop up a farmer's market. So let's support them there. It's a small group of farmers, and the ones that we've been able to get are they're not spraying. And some of them have been doing the organic practices for some time.
What's your feeling on Whole Foods opening in May?
Whole Foods?
No, it's
Whole
fresh
Foods.
market.
Or Fresh Market is a fresh
Oh,
market.
Fresh Market?
That's not on.
It's still
Oh,
coming
yeah.
from thousands of miles away. It's a chain. It's a chain.
I just have a question. Even if you buy from a farmer who doesn't spray, they're still using GMO seeds or genetically modified seeds, unless they're buying, what are they called,
So-
homestead seeds or something that they've ordered that are extremely expensive and very difficult to get. How do you even know when you buy something from a farmer that's local that doesn't spray that you're still not being affected?
You ask. A farmer has to sign for that seed. But as you know, wind will take pollen. So pretty much the corn is all contaminated.
Well, the wheat is, the wheat is too.
So there are certain things that it's going to be really hard to know. And locally, there's hardly anybody growing anything that's, the regular big farmers, it's corn and soy. That's what it is here. Those are the main ones that are genetically modified. Home gardeners, when you go and you get your own seed to do something, there's no way you're going to get a GMO seed. They have to sign on that. They got to pay. There's a whole program around that. So you don't have to worry about getting the seed. And even though you can pick the heirlooms, you can do all those things. There's other reasons to pick heirloom seed. But so just so you know, you don't have to worry too much about your own gardening experience with that. And then when you talk to the farmer, you just need to keep asking the question. If they don't know what GMOs are, you need to educate them. Tell them where to give them a link. Tell them to do some homework.
So is there a
Wait a minute, I think
gardening?
she was first.
There's also another farmer's market at the Transportation Museum.
Oh, yes,
Saturdays,
and I'm sorry, I got off it.
8 to
Yeah.
1, and Wednesdays 2 to 6.
Yeah, and I got
we have
derailed
some
on
great
that.
farmers there that come.
Yes, and there are several farmers, there will be more in the spring, there'll be a lot more farmers showing up at these markets. So they're both kind of in the downtown area.
And they
And we
have
could use
a-
many more of these pop-up markets, is my opinion. We could use more of these around the city.
There's a community garden too. I had a plot there from inception until last year. And I didn't know anything about organic farming, but I got a plot that was 10 by 10 for $25 a year.
Wow.
And there are some older people that have a lot of knowledge on this, and they're there, they lend their expertise. And it's kind of a fun thing, even for business, have employees go out and take turns taking care of the food there, because this is the big thing, is we are so detached from the food we eat. We just eat. We don't know where it comes from. When you go out to a restaurant, you just don't know where it comes from. Even when you go to the grocery store and you buy all these processed packaged things, you don't know anything about where it came from. When you have a personal connection with what you eat, it changes your perspective, and it's very educational.
And I add something, Second Harvest Food Bank. They have started a garden there. People just come, that they can, but there the intention is not to educate. And they have once a month, they have classes
Yeah, they
there.
teach you how to, right now we're showing you how to get seeds started and stuff like that.
And there are people that have property that's available. They would love for people to come and farm on there.
I have many people asking that too.
Marcia is a great resource for that. I'm sure she knows several people.
And back here? Yes.
I wanted to mention, you said grow one thing. Is there anyone in the area, I guess you are, doing the, connecting people? For example, I'm not gonna lie, every summer we grow more okra on our property than I could ever eat. To the point that Taste of West Africa has actually asked me to see if I want to grow even more.
Wow.
The thing is that we're really good at that, but I cannot grow zucchini and squash on my property. We have nematodes, they last a week. They do not produce. So I would love to start a trade with someone who can actually grow squash, zucchini, and other gourds on their property for okra and tomatoes. Because I got that now, that's not fun.
So I would suggest, since you are a farmer, that you need to know about the network, and you get in the network, and then in this little network, it's a real open kind of a network, meaning that people are just learning about each other, and some of them are actually coordinating. I'm doing this. You're doing this.
Okay, yeah, so I'll work with you.
Yes. So I can hook you up with that.
Can I make a quick plug? Is that
Sure.
okay?
If it's about any of this, anytime.
At Million Cups at at 1 Million Cups here on the 25th. We're doing a presentation from Sandhills Farm to Table, which is one of the community-supported agriculture co-ops and their distribution sites in the area. We also partner with Sustainable Sandhills and the Transportation Museum and Beth Israel Congregation and other organizations. So we'll be doing that. So if you want more information specifically on that mechanism for local food or regionally local food, come back on the 25th.
Great, that's great. Yeah, they've done a wonderful work. That's a wonderful organization doing a great work. They were really the first that were really reaching Fayetteville because we are such a food desert, it's unbelievable. And so really appreciate the work that they do. And we're just trying to build it right here. Similar, we're just trying to make it. And there's plenty of room in this city for all of these opportunities. This is not a competition.
I think we agreed that the people who fall in the lower socioeconomic range probably have more health problems and probably have less money to put towards their food budget.
Right.
And we all agree that the organic foods are more expensive. What would you suggest to someone in that range?
Yeah, I want to burst the myth that it's more expensive. If you go to Harris Teeter and buy your food that came from all over the world, yes, it's going to be more expensive. If you hook up locally with your farmer, you won't believe what a deal you're going to get. It's not more expensive. It's just how you're doing it.
And the taste is amazing. There's an amazing difference between
And when you
something
start
grown
feeling better and you start to get well, and all the money you're saving that was going out the other door to the doctor, yeah. So I'm just saying, it really is a myth, and I understand them saying that. But even through the food bank, their mission, so I can hook anybody up, no matter if you have no money, because the food bank, their mission for this year is to move 1 million pounds of fresh produce. And now, the food bank is known for canned goods, right? And he is on board for moving 1 million pounds of fresh produce. But the challenge is, and one reason why I do all these cooking classes and setting up this year to do cooking classes is the mindset of someone who's been in that system of the canned goods. They're only thinking about what's going to last till day 30 before they get back into it, and before they can get their next food. And so they will not take the fresh produce because it goes bad too fast, or they won't, or maybe they don't really know what to do with it. That is the case in at least a small percentage of them. So, or probably a bigger percentage than we think. So, education is just huge. We just need to educate, burst the myth. There are a lot of different ways we can get the people who really need this food, like you're saying, to them, that they can begin to make a real change without a need.
And it all starts here. If everybody goes out and talks to 3 to 5 people, think of what kind of impact that really has. Go home and talk to your families about this.
I really hope.
What's the name of your class that you're teaching here?
It's called Kitchen Table Wisdom, because we're going to be talking about the food, of course, but we're going to talk about our relationship. We're really going to get down to the soul of food, what's really going on with that.
April 7th.
April 7th.
I've heard of Carolina Grown. What's that?
That's another one. They are regional, and each one of these ones have a different way in which they bring food. So Carolina Grown delivers to your door.
Yeah,
And
it's at the storefront.
And do they? Not here anymore.
So really, they moved it? At one point, it was out at Tally.
It's not open
It's
though.
under lease now.
Yeah, it's not open. And I'm not real sure what's going on. I think maybe they tried to grow a little big too fast, maybe, I'm not sure. But they're not able to support the storefront at this point. It's not open. But they deliver, so you can be, and then they can deliver to your door. Some people, that's what they need. Now, again, with even all of these, you need to ask, where's the food coming from? Because I can tell you about a lot of different programs, but you need to ask what's important to you. Where's the food coming from? Is it organic or not? And for me, I don't even care about the organic part. If I know my farmer and I know I know what kind of practices he's using, he doesn't have to spend the extra money on organic certification for me. But if I'm getting food at Sam's from California, I'm going to make sure it says organic on it because I don't know the farmer otherwise.
There's a subscription, I think on Person Street, you have a case of
variety of vegetables every week or once a week?
That's probably San Hills Farm to Table. That's probably that one. And you have to go to a pickup point and pick up that box every week.
A sample of different vegetables.
And you will get, just in those boxes, you'll just get an idea of what's in season. I think they have a pretty generous box. Some people get overwhelmed with the box, like it's like way too much food. So I'm doing a little model in this food desert that we're in Ferguson Road to just keep it smaller, help them learn how to cook it, and just begin to get that into their diet so it's less expensive. It's not overwhelming, because greens, when they come in, we can fill 3 bags, and that would be the part of the share, because it cooks down to this much, right? So, but a lot of people don't maybe understand that or know that yet, so we don't want to overwhelm people.
When you say, will you clarify something for me? Because I tend to agree with you, but when you said that the food that we eat is 60% less nutritious than it has been in the past, what are you talking about? You're talking about processed foods? You're talking about the foods locally, just by the practices that they use?
Yeah.
That it leaches the soil and all that?
Thank you. Yeah, it's all the above.
The soil's been so depleted by all the chemicals.
Now,
Yeah, it just
that
doesn't taste the
doesn't
same.
mean, and that doesn't, I made a general statement as far as soil, because not all soil is going to be that bad.
Right.
There are many farmers that have had good practices, that have taken care of their soil and the food coming off that property. I've seen some of those properties. I can go, in the sand hills, you can go and see this one farmer, he's growing in the sand, and his plants look like that. And then you can go over here with somebody that brought in some compost and spent a couple, 3 years building their soil. And it absolutely, I came over the hill of somebody's large garden, and it just blew me away. It was just unbelievably gorgeous. Because the soil is so much better. So when I say that, I am making a general statement as far as, generally speaking, most of the food that you're getting in the grocery store, that's anything commercially raised, has been forced to, the soil has been forced to give it back, through the inputs of fertilizer and all that. But naturally speaking, when you take care of the soil, you don't have to have all those inputs. And the soil and the organisms will just make this a wonderful thing. And it makes, because really, just like our body is the wisdom, it really knows how to heal itself. And no doctor will ever, no scientist will ever really understand that. The same way with the soil. If we mess with it too much, it has the wisdom and it knows how, and we will never understand it. It's too complicated. It's so complicated. However, it's beautiful, and it knows how to heal itself. Even with all the damage done, it knows how to heal itself. It just needs some time and no more of putting all that junk into it. So, and I see that happening. So.
I want to get up with you in regards to Sustainable Neighbors and the classes that you're offering, maybe some of the network. How would they be able to do that?
So you can go to, and I have some stuff over here, some flyers. I wanted to make a plug for Sand Hills Naturally. That magazine is wonderful because this city does not have a edible magazine or anything that's really talking exclusively about food and health, and this magazine totally takes care of that for us. And I just really recommend that everybody take a few and spread the word, because it's educating people, because this need to educate is huge, because people don't know. So this is the best publication. I'm just amazed. It's just exactly what we needed this time. And if it doesn't get sponsorship, it will go away. So we need to support that. Then I also have the Ferguson Road Farmers Market out here, the food buying club that I'm doing through a church here, and then the kitchen table wisdom flyers there. So you can pick that up about that. And on that, it will give you the directions to get to my website. And I have some cards. So I wanted, can I take a few more minutes? I wanted to also just tell you that there was a study done about living longer, because it's one of the quality things about adding more fruits and vegetables. This was just amazing. You can have 1 serving or 2 servings of vegetables, and it extends your life if you have more vegetables. We know that. But they actually did a study and found that if you add at least 7 or more servings, which is only like a third of a cup, servings of fruits and vegetables, and especially vegetables, more than fruit, you can you will have a 42% less risk, 42% less risk of cancer, heart disease, stroke. I mean, I suppose this will go on because it's just food, right? Food should be our medicine. Medicine should be our food. Did I even say that? Did I say what Hippocrates says? Right?
Is that 7 a week or?
7 a day.
But
But it's only a third of the cup.
Yeah, a serving size is only a third.
It's only a third of the cup. So when I steam kale, I can easily eat 2 cups of kale. That's only like a nice.
And it starts in baby steps. That's why, she has the resources for, what to do with food. And then I help try and change people's attitude about it. And it's baby steps, wherever you are. If you're the, truck driver or, you're the stay-at-home mom, it doesn't matter. Wherever you are, you can move forward just by adding a little bit of baby steps. You don't have to start out with 7 servings. Right now.
That's
Add
right.
1.
But start building up to that. It's
Right.
gonna make a big difference. Oh, and they also said, because you look so young, they said those who did this in their 20s actually had a lot less plaque in their veins when they were 40. So just like we know, you only have so much calcium, in your bones. You do that when you're young, right? And then now I'm just trying to hold on to it, right? Because you don't really make it. It's harder to make it after time. But it's the same thing with this. Whatever investment you make earlier on in life, I was at the doctor yesterday, and the woman that was taking care of, the pain and stuff, she goes, she didn't go. I was just looking at her, and look at the people that are sitting there all day long. They just sit there, and her whole persona. I mean, just everything about her is just because I can just see it. She's lacking these things we're talking about. She's young. She should be vibrant, but she's not. And just by what I'm telling you, because I've done this pretty much my whole life. So I just know, and that's why I have to give this message. I just have to do this.
Yeah. I wanted to say, sadly, the gentleman has just left. I know somebody who's in construction, and so there, you're out on the job, and where do you go to eat? And what he wound up doing, he wound up getting NutriBullet and doing the greens, and he would take those with him. So he had something healthy. Often we say, well, ideally you drink it within the first 15 minutes or 45 minutes. But I think even if it sits for 3 or 4 hours and it's kept cool, that is still healthier than the soda or the Big Mac.
Yeah. I want to say something, because this is really important to this group. I want to say something about entrepreneurship, is that there is so many entrepreneurial opportunities in food today, especially around local food, because we are just now building it. So this is one that keeps coming up that I see is so important. We need more people that will cook from scratch and make meals available to people, all kinds of people. They're working too much, they can't. We need more cooks. We need more people. We need Seeds Kitchen, and we need more people cooking where people will have this alternative way to get better food and pay for it and just boost our economy here in that way also.
Can you talk about the Seed Kitchen?
As
Because
well
a lot
as
of people
people
don't know much about it.
I don't know like a whole lot like as of current, but I believe the Seed Kitchen is on its way to, it's building its momentum to open. I'm not sure when opening will be.
2 or 3 years.
But what that is that anyone that would like to use the kitchen and rent a kitchen to make their product, maybe they make cookies, maybe they make, whatever, it could be anything. They can use this kitchen, rent this kitchen, and it's a way to do their business without having to have the whole facility for themselves or have the big enough kitchen at home to do what they need to do all the batches they need to do. So it's a wonderful opportunity, and we really need that. We really, really, really need this. Because this is part of the local food system that we need to build.
Memory serves, I just went to a meeting and they said it'd be 2 or 3 years at the rate they're going raising money before they get it open, so.
Okay. And so promote, see if we can, because we just need to find more funders to put into that. I know this is just a humble thing, but I put in my $25. I don't have any money. I'm not making money doing this. but I put in $25 because my intention needs to be in that soup kitchen happening. So I just encourage all of you, put in your 2 cents. We all need to be contributing to make this happen.
Marsha, I'll take the last question. What can the community do
Yes,
for you with
what you can
Sustainable
do
Neighbors?
is invite me to your groups, your church, anywhere you think people need to hear this message, I will come and give this message. And then go on my website, see what's going on there. If you need some resources, if you need some help, just let me know. But I hope that the website will help get you to the places to do some of this more or whatever.